the players cool down after the game, Wiser heats up my water.
Rob, building on what was a very good performance against Gloucester last week, you go to Newcastle this week. What are you expecting?
Well, obviously the weather looks like it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting trip up in the bus, and interesting trip back. And hopefully we can bring some points back with us, because it kind of keeps us on track. Then, obviously, we know it's going to be a challenge, and I'm very much aware. One swallow doesn't make a summer. We feel like we've been performing pretty well, but we've seen that important win home against one of the form teams in the Premiership, which is great. But that's it really. It's a one-off victory. We've got to tag some more on. That's going to be a challenge, and obviously that emotional recharge of the batteries when we've seen one home is going to be important, because we can't take our foot off the gas this week in Newcastle.
Last week's performance was set about really from a really strong first half performance. The tackle count, I think at half time, Opta said was 11 to us, 160 to them. That really set the tone for you. Yeah,
well, obviously playing into a strong wind, it was always going to be key. We were going to have to keep possession. We were going to have to be prepared to run from deep. We're going to have to be prepared to work very hard. I mean, I look at some of the work some of the guys got through, some of our forwards in particular. You look how many times Yanis carried, Daffyd in the second row, and being backed up by the rest of the back row. I think Kappa's carried more than he would normally do. And Kepman was getting his hands on the ball. Pat Schickling. When you look at the carry rate of that across the pack of forwards, was quite exceptional. And then we kind of managed to get Tom O'Flaherty and Ollie Woodburn on the ball a fair bit as well, and they were quite incisive in what they were doing. So overall, it was a performance based around as you say, keeping the ball and working very hard, and that gave us probably the opportunity to go in at half time pretty even, and then the advantages of the wind and the fatigue factor started to pay its price. And probably it wasn't until we kind of went a little bit off script second half that we came under pressure. We did a couple of loose kicks that allowed a couple of good counter-attacks from Gloucester. And that actually put us under a bit of pressure. But outside of that, we managed to control things pretty well. And you got to say it was a mature performance from a not a most experienced team, but one where that combination of that kind of youthful exuberance and energy and drive, aligned with that the hard work and grunt from some more experienced players, really combined to create a very good performance.
You said a few weeks ago, I want to give these boys a chance, an opportunity to show. They seem to be stepping up, Rob. There's a real energy around this group of players at the moment. How much are you getting excited by that?
I think it's really exciting, and I think the thing that's exciting for me is it's very easy to go ask about the young players. It is about the young guys. They think it's brilliant. Every time they go out there training, they're selected in the team. Every time they're picked, it's just brilliant because it's new and it's fresh. For me, the key is making sure that aligns with the senior players who are excited and fresh and keen. That's what we're seeing. It's actually the vibrancy of the group that's driving things. I mean, Joe Simmons looks like an energised leader to me. That's the way he's talking. That's the way he's acting. That's brilliant to see. Ian Whitten, doesn't look like an old war horse. He looks like a young Shire horse, so to speak. Maybe not a young thoroughbred, but he kind of looks like a guy who can keep ploughing on forever. Don Armand's probably having his best group of games I can remember him having for a long time. Yanis is like a non-stop. He's he's just a workaholic in the team for us. And a young front row is standing up, but with Alec Hepburn in there as well to guide things along. You add it all together, and it feels really good. Hodgie at the back's becoming more consistent, adding more in our attack. It's Tom Hendrickson, and you actually look at yards made, post contact line last week. It was very, very good. There's a lot of good things going on at the moment.
Obviously, you have to take that into Newcastle, but when you look at the results in recent weeks, I know you were so close, but you still picked up 2 points. But last week, keeping Gloucester to 0, Harlequins lose the following day. Everything seemed to align now. You've got to build on that, I guess, going into this weekend.
The only thing I can talk to players about is how hard we have to fight to get the season back in our own hands. And until we're in the top 4, the season's not back in our own hands. Right here and now, we can't decide if we're going to win the Premiership, because other teams can stay ahead of us. They can decide that they're not going to slip points. We can't. They can take it out of our hands. We've got to put it back in our hands. We put it back in our hands by getting the top 4, because then you can look around and you can go, right, no team can overtake us if we play well enough. It's now in our hands, and if we're in the top 4, we have a chance for semi-final, we have a chance for the final. So that's what I'm really fighting for. I'm fighting for that point in the season when we can get it back in our own hands, because then then it changes. That's my opinion. I think then it changes. Right here and now, I'm going to talk to the guys, even this morning. We're going to fight to get it back into that top four. We're going to fight to get this season right back in our hands. We're probably only a couple of results away from that, but so are a few other teams, and that's probably the challenge of this season.
You talked about the weather. That's obviously going to be a huge factor this weekend, but so too are Newcastle. And what have you learned from the previous game here early in November, and the way they've played this season? They seem to have stepped up again, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I think this is one of those. The worst part of this season has been one where form and runs haven't counted for much in games we've been involved in. Newcastle came here and won. Well, there haven't been. I can't remember the last time they came here and won, and people were talking about how difficult it is to come here and win. And teams have come here and won this season who haven't won here for a while. So I don't think that counts for very much. Not where we are probably in our stage of the season and where the season's going. So we've got to just discount all that and make it all about one weekend and enjoy throwing everything into this game and take everything in this game we can, and then we'll move on after. That's kind of what we've got to focus on. We've got to focus on the here and now, not on what's happened in the past, not on how we've managed games in the past, not whatever we've done up there before. Doesn't count for anything. What will count is what we do this week.
Team news wise, how are you looking? And also on the injury front, Stu Townsend and Jacques both out in training now.
Yeah,
positives. It's
nice to see guys running around like Harry Williams, Jacques, Stu. They're running around out there. Great to see them. They're still a little way off, but it's going to be coming a little way now instead of a long way, which is great. We've still got a couple of guys who've got they pick up niggles week by week and may not be available. But Sam Simmons should be available. Sam Warner should be available this week. Sam Simmons will be available back from Scotland. Unfortunately, Johnny and Hoggy have got knocks, so they're doubts. So we're gaining some, losing some, but that bit, I think we're all as players and management. Every club gets used to that now. There's a lot of ins and outs currently in seasons at the moment, and especially at this time of the season. So we're just getting on with things. We've had a good training week, but we've had a few good training weeks now. There's a nice zip and energy about us, and we're going to work very hard as a management to maintain that, and I'm sure the players will work hard to throw a lot onto the pitch on the weekend.